Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much once again for being here. I do not want to take too much of your time because you know that we are quite tight in our schedule because you always ask loads of questions, which is fantastic. And I want to ask for a big round of applause for Jill Gilbert, who has come from Los Angeles to talk to us about animation in games and immersive content. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really honored to be here to speak to all of you about some of my favorite things. So a bit about me. Let's see. I'm an animation producer and consultant, and I've been in animation my whole career, and I love it because it's a process of collaboration and a culture of collaboration. And that's not to say that you don't have collaboration in live action, but to me, live action is a little more of a handoff, where animation is kind of a dog pile, where everyone jumps on and makes something great together. I've seen all sides of animation. I've seen the content creation side. I was an executive at Disney Toon Studios for 9 years, where I worked on sequels, sneakquels, trequels, interquels, any kind of quel, and Mickey Mouse movies and Winnie the Pooh movies. And we had to produce 4 movies a year at a fraction of the budget of the big, huge feature animated movies, and also maintain that Disney integrity for their brand. I also was an executive at Paramount Animation when that division launched in 2011, and I was fortunate enough to be the executive on the second SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. Did anyone see it? It was where they turn into the superheroes and they fight Antonio Banderas. It was great. I've also seen animation from the production services side. I did business development for Technicolor Studios. Business development is kind of a catch-all for marketing, client services, sales. Our clients at Technicolor were Nickelodeon and DreamWorks Animation, Rockstar Games, and EA. I took a really fun left turn into producing theme park attractions. So I produced several attractions for Universal Studios Singapore, and all of my attractions had to do with DreamWorks animated properties. 5 years ago, I started my own business, JFG Consulting, and this past spring, I brought in a business partner, and we created the Sunny Side Up, which was an expansion of my consulting business. So we work with animation companies in the content, games, and tech spaces. We do creative development. We produce. I'm actually producing a movie now for one of my clients. We provide business strategy, business development, talent sourcing, program enrichment. And so we're sort of sitting at the crossroads of story and technology. So since I've been in this business for about 30 years, I think it's really important to stay relevant, and I need to think about what is the future of the industry and what's changed since I started and why did it change. So some of the things that I'm thinking about is that audiences have many more options for how to spend their leisure time. Essentially, mobile phones gave the world its own movie screen and their TV in the palm of your hand, not only to watch, but to make yourself. So this was a big struggle for Hollywood, because for over a century, Hollywood has been in control of creating and distributing your content. So going to the movies was like a big night out, and appointment TV, which was like planning for that 8 o'clock show with the family, everyone sitting around and watching, was a big night in. And then audiences would talk about it the next day at school or at work. But now with technology, lots has changed, right? So games, that's kind of your big night in, or it's really your any time in because you can play it at any time. Games are not just for kids, they're for fans of all ages. They're in various formats, and they are brands themselves. And in this experience, the player is control. They are actively engaged. They are the hero of their own adventure. You're going to hear me say that a few times today. I also think a lot about immersive content, location-based entertainment. And you're going to see that term a lot. It's going to be LBE in my presentation. That's kind of a big night out, right? So you can pay a little bit more than you would for a movie ticket and have a bigger experience where you're completely immersed, a real-life experience with the whole audience. So in both games and immersive content, location-based entertainment, audiences really want that community engagement, whether it's virtual or in person. But what has stayed the same is that creators and the audience all want the same thing. We all want to engage with amazing stories, with unique characters in unique worlds. So that leads me to thinking about my thesis of what I'm going to talk about today. that audiences want to be active participants, not passive viewers. Yes, the audience can spend leisure time at home, but there's also a desire to be out in the world and engaging with community. So that I believe that games and immersive location-based entertainment are going to be the dominant experiences for audiences around the world. So today my talk is going to include a brief history of how we got here, an overview of these industries, and the cultural differences between the animation industry in Hollywood and games and location-based entertainment. And then I'm going to give some examples of how to cross-pollinate and share knowledge and best practices. So what caused this change? Well, these were two big things that caused this change. YouTube, which launched in February of 2005. And when they launched as a video sharing site, their early slogan was broadcast yourself. So they were actively calling on people to make their own content. Netflix, not sure if any of you know this, but in 1997, their first iteration of their company was a mail-order DVD business. So it was like a rental business through the mail. But in 2007, they switched to video on demand with licensed content. So they paid for other people's content to show on their site, and their original content started in 2013. And I'm going to talk more about that too. So now we've got global platforms and so many options, and the audience is gaining control. So for the next 15 years, the audience's control continues to increase. The audience can determine what to watch, when to watch, where to watch, how to watch, if you choose to make your own to watch, or if you choose to do something completely different with your leisure time. So now the audience is not at the mercy of the movie studios and the TV channels to be entertained. So with this instant and available content and social media, audiences could watch and communicate with each other in real time. So now the tables have turned on Hollywood creators and distributors. And then what happened in 2020? We had the pandemic, so everyone's at home. So content could and had to be made anywhere by anyone. We were actually really lucky in animation and games because we thrived, whereas live action got shut down. There was community engagement that became virtual and more global, and this really pushed Hollywood over the edge. So here's where we are today. We're in 2024. Hollywood is making less animated film and TV content because how much kids and family animated content is really needed. And audiences will outgrow it quickly. That kid audience comes into play every 3 to 5 years. Streamers have oversaturated the market, and so they need new business models. They're looking at ad revenue, which is basically selling commercials again, so we're kind of going backwards. They're looking at different subscription packages, but how many subscriptions do people need? Because my friend Manuel is going to share his Netflix subscription with me, and I'm going to share my Disney Plus with Cecile, and Uncle Milton's going to share his Apple Plus with me, so people are sharing all over the place. And while games have had a rocky couple of years, their popularity continues to grow, and the audience lasts longer. And also, immersive and location-based entertainment is regaining its pre-pandemic levels. There's many more options. So you've got your destination trips, like you make that big trip to Disneyland once a year, but there's also local kinds of experiences too, and the price points are, there's a various range now. So to know where we're going, we need to get a lay of the land now. So we're going to talk about, first, the animation industry. I'm going to talk about movies, TV, and streaming video on demand. And while there is a thriving global animation business, think about anime, my focus today is going to be on Hollywood because that's where my experience is. Okay, so these are films from 2023. Box Office Mojo reported 3 animated films in the top 10 worldwide box office of last year. So number 2 was Super Mario Brothers. That worldwide box office was $1.36 billion. These are all in US dollars, I should say. Number 6 was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse at $691 million. And Elemental was number 10 at $496 million. Mainstream Hollywood movies are made for a 4-quadrant audience. I don't know if anyone knows what a 4-quadrant audience is, but I'm going to walk you through them. So 4 quadrants. This is the audience you're trying to hit. Male, female, under 25, over 25. So it's basically everyone. It's kind of a ridiculous metric, but that's what it's called. And these animated movies have taken the place of live-action PG comedies. They don't make those anymore for theaters. They might make them for streamers now. There's some R-rated comedies. Marvel movies will have comedy in them, but a straight comedy is really in this space. So most animated Hollywood movies today are based on a known IP. And IP, for those of you who don't know, stands for intellectual property. It's a known brand or a part of a franchise. So let's see. Mario Brothers, known IP. Spider-Man, part of a franchise. Production budgets can span from 50 million all the way up to 250 million US dollars. And that doesn't account for marketing costs, and that can be equal to the production budget. So if I'm spending $250 million on the movie's production, it's likely I'm spending another 250 on the marketing. Now, the international market and streamers are willing to take risks and take chances on different types of movies for less than around 20 million. But the US, and as some of you may remember from Mark's talk on Monday, the US animated movies are considered a genre rather than a filmmaking technique, which is really kind of a shame, but that's sort of where they sit. Okay, let's talk about series. So animated series fall into 5 categories. There's preschool, kids 6 to 11, family, adult, and this new category over there, which is action adventure, more dramatic kinds of action. And the reason why they are in these categories is because they were geared towards certain advertisements. So you don't want to advertise toys at night for adults, and you don't want to advertise beer for kids during the day. So let's talk about each of these categories and these examples. So Bluey was launched in 2018 in Australia. It's the second most streamed show in 2023, accumulating a total of 43.9 billion minutes viewed across the year, according to Nielsen data. Anyone watch Bluey? Yeah? Okay. How about SpongeBob? Who watches SpongeBob? Yay! Okay, Variety reported this summer on the 25th anniversary of the launch of the show that the show is seen in over 180 markets, and it's translated into over 30 languages. It has an excess of 100 million views per quarter. It's a lot of views. Okay, how about The Simpsons? Anyone watch The Simpsons? Yeah, okay. Well, this is the longest running animated show at 35 years. According to Statista, the 35th season drew an average of 1.74 million viewers. Now, those numbers, it may sound like a lot, but they've actually been in decline since season 12. Season 12 was at almost 15 million viewers. And that causes a drop in the ad revenue for those 30-second broadcast spots. There was an improvement around 2018, 2019, which was the first increase in 4 years. All right, Rick and Morty. Who watches Rick and Morty? Yeah? Okay. That show debuted in 2013. On Rotten Tomatoes, seasons 1 to 4 and 6 had reviews over 90%, and season 5 had 86% reviews, and then there was a drop to 75% for season 7. Season 8 was delayed because of the writer's strike that happened last summer, and last week, Adult Swim just announced a 2-season pickup for the show. Now, Screen Rant, which is an online magazine, they said that while the show is still getting critical acclaim, it's not been successful with spin-offs, and they're failing to expand and grow their franchise. Okay, how about Arcane? Who watched Arcane? Yeah? Yeah, that was pretty cool, huh? They did a great job with that show, because I'm not a gamer, and I really enjoyed it. So this is based on Riot's hugely successful game, League of Legends. It was launched on Netflix in 2021, and they only launched 1 season. But Forbes reported that it had 120 million hours watched globally. It's a lot of hours. The audiences raved, it won a bunch of awards, and season 2 is coming out this November, that final chapter in 3 installments. Yay, everyone get excited. Okay, so this chart shows tracking for the most popular online video apps. Spent minutes per day. So you'll see that YouTube is number 1 and Netflix has been number 2 for 5 years in a row. Also, it's important to note that the data website Statista reports that as of July 2024, this past July, CoComelon Nursery Rhymes is the leading kids channel with 178 million subscribers on YouTube. Anyone watch CoComelon? Okay. So there are examples of where Hollywood has cross-pollinated, and it's been somewhat successful. So Last of Us, which I know is a live-action show, but Last of Us and Cuphead, what was interesting about those shows is they brought in people from both the games companies and Hollywood side to make some great content. And they were very successful. There was a respect on both sides for what each side brings to the table. So the Super Mario Brothers movie, Universal has been working on building out those lands at their Universal Studios. So they have Super Nintendo World. That opened in Japan in 2021. In Hollywood, it opened in 2023. In Orlando, it's opening next summer, and Universal Studios Singapore is under construction. So Black Mirror, which I know is also a live-action show, was interesting because Netflix did a branching narrative episode. They also created Cat Burglar, which was a trivia game. And so these were opportunities to give the audience control by controlling the story with your remote. And finally, Momoguro. I'm not sure if anyone's heard about this IP yet. This was developed by one of my clients called Baobab Studios. They initially developed it as a TV series. They weren't able to get any traction, so they pivoted to make it an NFT and a Roblox game. Wildly successful, sold out immediately. Now it's back to being developed as a co-production for television. So see, things can move back and forth. You can pivot. So let's talk a little bit about Hollywood culture. Our strength is telling great stories and great characters. And actually, when I was at Disney, my big boss said that once. He said, you know, Disney tells okay stories, but we tell fantastic characters. And he's right, because those characters really sit with you. They stay with you in your heart for many, many years. In Hollywood, creative is king. Technology supports, creative is always first. And what's weird is that despite being an innovative industry, we are very late to embrace technology. So we've seen that in animation, particularly around 10, 15 years ago. A lot of 2D artists struggled with using tech like Storyboard Pro. They struggled with animating in CG, using motion capture, using real-time game engines. So there's a real struggle there. Hollywood is not really into knowledge sharing, and Hollywood likes sure bets. It's very risk adverse. And what I mean by that is the content that's being produced. Oops, I didn't mean to go there yet. Hollywood likes sure bets. They like to make sequels, spin-offs, remakes, and they like to use known talent. So that's why The Rock is in so many different pieces of content. So that's why Moana 2, home run, right? Known piece of content, known talent. And sure bets on how things are being produced, using same methods of production, and there's a lot of fear of AI, which is too bad. Now I meant to get to this. So this is an important slide because here is where tech comes to Hollywood. And that happened in 2013. The tech companies jumped into this fray of making original content, and they had a lot of money to spend, and they really disrupted things. So in 2013 is when Netflix and Amazon got into original content, and 2019 is when Apple did. And their content has been pretty good quality. For the 2023-2024 Emmy season, these three combined won a total of 37 awards for both live action and animated content between the Creative Arts and the Primetime Emmy Awards. But Hollywood still had a hold on the movies in terms of Oscars. Universal won 7 Oscars last year for Oppenheimer. So again, not animated, but still maintaining that hold in that space. But to me, what's really interesting is that Amazon and Apple, content creation is not even their core business. It supports their core business, right? So for Amazon, if you sign up for Prime, you get this platform for free. You get free content. And Apple, they want to sell you technology. And they are moving into more kinds of technology, more cutting-edge technology like their glasses, VR, they've got wearables. So this is a good transition to games and the games industry landscape. Okay, so who plays games? They play console games, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam games, that open source, okay, yep, and mobile games. So these are the most popular games for this year so far. We can't talk about games and not talk about Roblox. Roblox reports that as of the end of this past June, the daily average users totaled 79.5 million. Their goal is to get to 1 billion users per day. The data site Search Logistics reports that Minecraft has over 166 million active players. Fortnite GG, which is a data collection site for Fortnite, reports only 1.9 million player count since last Tuesday. Their all-time peak was 10 months ago at 11.7 million. This chart just reiterates how popular Roblox is. People spend an average of 130 minutes a day playing Roblox. This is my favorite slide, I think, in the whole presentation. It's so interesting. So the video game industry reports $196 billion in revenue in 2023, which outpaced streaming and box office revenue combined. That's a lot of money. Almost 80% of 2 to 18-year-olds are gamers, and they spend 30% of their leisure time gaming. What's also reported is that gamers will socialize, shop, and watch videos while they're gaming. They are more likely to spend when they are doing more. And that is very true with all of my game clients. That's always the goal. Keep the players in game. The longer they're in there, the more they will spend. Gamers are co-creating their experience, with 79% playing video games that include user-generated content, and 16% are making content themselves. So this is players making videos of themselves, playing games, and then uploading them to Twitch and YouTube, and other people watching them. It's kind of crazy. And these game mechanics allow players to be the hero of their own experience. So again, you've heard me say that before. So how do people get into the games business? There are people who get into games right from school. There are more paths now in education where you can study how to build games, how to be a games creator. People come through technology, since tech is such a big part of games. People from Hollywood are making the jump into games, especially a lot of animation folks. They can play in both spaces. And then there's miscellaneous industries. I know people who come from project management or book publishing or even tutoring, which is sort of interesting. Okay. So let's talk about the games culture for a little bit. So what's really interesting is that in the games industry, creative and technology work together to create this product. Both sides are making meaningful contributions, and they are genuinely equals, but sometimes the tech is more important. So that's the opposite of what I was talking about with Hollywood, where the creative is always king. So that's a big change. What's also interesting is that technology is this critical piece that's ever changing, ever evolving, right? My pen isn't going to change that much, but the technology, the tools to make these games are constantly changing. Many games are a living product that's ongoing, and so you never know where that clear end, there may not be a clear end to completing the product. Whereas in movies and TV, we have a script. We kind of know where things are going. Knowledge sharing is welcomed and encouraged, and part of the reason why is that game mechanics can't be copyrighted. So they are borrowed or people use them. They are inspired by other games, and that's an accepted practice throughout the industry. And finally, the indie game sector is more willing to try and fail. You know, budgets for a simple mobile game can be much smaller. You can build something quickly. You can try. You can fail. You can see what works. And at many companies, many game companies, failure can even be celebrated. So one of my clients, if you fail, you have to drink a bottle of champagne. That's pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to switch to immersive location-based entertainment, or LBE. And this industry includes a wide variety of different types of experiences. And so I'm going to provide some general categories. For all of them, there's always a story to be told. Some are narrative-driven, and some require that the audience be the one to create their own story from the space that they're in. So 2 quick notes. The first is that this may not seem connected to animation, but it is. Many times these experiences are based on animation IP. There's character, story development, there's world building, and there's imagination and spectacle. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that movie making has been around for over 100 years and TV for about 80. So this space, I know, is going to take a little bit longer to become fully realized, but it's getting there. Okay, so what everyone knows sort of first is theme parks and amusement parks. This is the most known part of this industry. So Disney Parks and Resorts, they have 6 theme parks in California, Orlando, Paris, Shanghai, Tokyo, and Hong Kong. They have cruises, they have resorts, they have vacation clubs, water parks. Fantawild Group, that is a Chinese-based amusement park company. And so as of 2020, they had 16 parks with 7 more under construction. I don't know, does anyone know the difference between a theme park and an amusement park? Well, I'm going to tell you, the difference are the trash cans. Because at a theme park, the trash cans are themed to be like the fit in the land and so you feel immersed. Whereas at an amusement park, it's just a regular old trash can. And you can actually check that out because at Disney, if you go online, you can actually order little miniature trash cans that are themed to all of the different lands that they have. It's kind of nuts. All right, Merlin Entertainment Groups. This is Legoland. They have 10 of those worldwide. They also own Madame Tussauds, the wax museums. And they also have some brand-specific gateway attractions like Peppa Pig and Shrek and the London Eye. And finally, Universal Destinations and Experiences. They have 5 theme parks. They have Hollywood, Orlando, Japan, Beijing, and Singapore. They have some other Orlando parks like Islands of Adventure, Volcano Bay. Those are a little more amusement park. And they have Epic Universe opening in 2025 in Orlando, which is their new park, which has like a fully devoted Harry Potter land. That's where the new Mario Brothers, Super Nintendo land is going to be. So what's interesting with this chart, it's important to know, is that success is measured in attendance, okay? So Disney's king, but you can see a lot of growth in Fanta Wild, as I mentioned, this Chinese company, and also the Chimelong Group, which is number 5. They own amusement parks, water parks, zoos, hotels, and resorts. So lots of growth in China. All right, this next category in these creative spaces is a variety show. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Meow Wolf. Has anyone heard of Meow Wolf? No? Okay, good. So they have 5 experiences in the United States. Their common purpose is to expand worlds and minds through the lens of Meow Wolf's kaleidoscopic art. And they like to redefine the paradigm of art and storytelling to make a positive difference in the world. These were created by a collection of artisans, which is super cool. So hopefully this trailer is going to play.
Welcome to the Miniverse.
Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about is a creative space that's a gallery. This is Lego's Superpower Studios. It was opened in Paris earlier this year, and it's an immersive gallery. And what I like about it is it breaks from that do not touch rule of galleries. Here you actively participate and transform the space into a vibrant celebration of creativity and play. They've included works by renowned artists, and the goal is to blend that creativity, art, and imagination. Okay. Has anyone heard about Sleep No More? No? Okay, great. I'm telling you about all new kinds of things. So Sleep No More is a theatrical show. It was originated by the British theater company Punch Drunk in London, and it opened in New York in 2011. This is immersive theater based on William Shakespeare's Macbeth and inspired by noir films, especially Alfred Hitchcock. It's set in a 5-story building with simultaneous theatrical action. So it's a total 3-hour show. Each character plays on a 1-hour loop, and they return to their original location every hour. So some characters repeat, stay in the same location, and others move across multiple floors. So the audience is given agency to move freely, but they can also be directed where to go. And many times the ushers like to break up people. So if I'm going with my friend Elena, they might separate us so that we have 2 very different experiences. They also have a bunch of secret rooms and different sort of private experiences. I read that there was one guy who went 32 times so that he could experience every single story and every single character.
Last night, I had the dream again. Was it last night? Or the night before last? Or is this the same night still? It's always the same dream. I go back there, and everything is just the way it was. That night, we dance. We dance forever. Never die, and never see the dawn. And you and I will be the death of sleep. This endless night.
Okay. This next one is really interesting. It's called Level 99, and this is an immersive games and escape room type space. They only have 2 locations. It's a social gaming playground with over 50 real-world physical and mental challenges and games, plus craft drinks and elevated dining.
Welcome to Level 99. Located in Natick, Massachusetts, our 48,000 square foot complex features first-of-its-kind challenge-based entertainment. Welcome to a real-life video game. Welcome to a world of challenges. When you get hungry, stop by the Night Shift Brewing Restaurant for tasty craft beers and an elevated dining experience. Access granted. This is Level 99.
Mission completed.
I don't know, that's pretty cool to me. I'd much rather go do that than spend about the same amount to go see a Marvel movie that I've already seen 16 times. Okay, the next category is brand experiences. So there is a Stranger Things experience. They have 8 locations, one in Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, London, Atlanta, Paris, Toronto, and Seattle. And their marketing materials say, discover your powers and become the hero of your own adventure. So again, you've heard that before.
Go, go, go! We don't have much time. We need your help.
Max and I are in danger, in the Upside Down. We need you.
You are all in very serious danger.
We saw what you guys can do.
We're counting on you. The Demogorgons are coming. You hear me? I know you have all of these specific powers, but I believe that you have more in you.
Time has come.
Okay. Another brand experience targeting a different age demo is the Bluey Immersive Experience. And here you get to play your favorite games like Magic Asparagus, Keepy Uppy, and Granny's in Bluey and Bingo's house. There's animated content that's created just for this experience, and at the end of it, you get to meet Bluey and Bingo.
You guys ready to enter Bluey and Bingo's house for real life? Alrighty, gang, why don't you come on over here? Why don't you come on over here? Ready? And here we go!
My God! This is Bluey and Bingo's house for real life! What? Look at the kitchen!
for yes. Just like the show, 2 for yes and 1 for no.
So fun! Is that a duck cake? Can you grab your beans? Where are your beans? Let's put them back. There you go. Yeah. All right.
There's also the girls' room around this way if you guys wanted to check that out.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So products are also jumping into this market with brand experience. So there is the Johnny Walker Princess Street. This actually won a bunch of awards last year. It's in Edinburgh. There's tours, immersive tasting experience, unique personalized gifts and mementos, and cocktails and dining. But cocktails and dining is important. And the final type of experience I'm going to talk about is more of an Instagram-worthy experience, like the Museum of Ice Cream. So they have 6 locations in Austin, Boston, Chicago, Miami, New York, and Singapore. There are 14 magical playscapes, including this one where you get to swim around in ice cream sprinkles, fake ice cream sprinkles. They have exclusive treats and unlimited ice cream. That's pretty great. So let's talk a bit about this industry experience. The audience is the single most important part of creating a successful immersive experience because they are a part of creating that experience with you. And the goal is to create a cause and effect branching of the story so that the audience feels that the decisions that they have impact on the outcome of that experience. And if this is done correctly, they will have an emotional connection or a memory that they experience, which will hopefully generate more engagement with the experience, both coming back to the venue and beyond the venue. Location is key. This is, in many ways, a real estate business just as much as it is a creative business. So you've got your destination locations where people go for their holidays, their vacations, and you have more local experiences, sort of the equivalent of like the movie theater down the street. Because now movie theaters, I don't know about what's happening here, but in the United States, there's a lot that have been going out of business. They've closed because viewership is down, people aren't going to the movies anymore. But what's interesting is that I talked to the executive producer, one of the executive producers of the theme park that I produced, and I asked him 5 years ago, I said, where is this all going? And he said, it's going to malls. Because what's happened is that shopping so much of it has gone online, so you have these big, huge spaces that are now available. And what's interesting is that Netflix is piloting 2 programs, one in a Dallas mall and one in a Minneapolis mall that contains immersive entertainment. So as I mentioned, metrics of success is measured in throughput. How many people can you participate per hour, per day, per week, per year? So where do these folks come from? They come from all different kinds of industries. Live theater, live shows. There are some people who have kind of grown up in the theme park industry, folks from Hollywood like me who made this sort of weird left turn to get into this space. They come from gaming. There's real estate developers and investors, and also just investors who are watching the trends now and seeing that this is where entertainment is going. So a bit about the culture in this space. So again, that number one question is, why is the audience here? We really think about a lot about that audience in this space, because you want to create this experience that strikes the balance between having wide appeal and making it deeply personal. You also want to think about the level of theatrics, that sleight of hand that is going to surprise and delight your audience. Now, the audience is smart enough to know that the experience isn't real. However, the goal is to capture their imagination so they're willing to go along for that metaphorical ride. I actually experienced that because when I was at Disney, I had the chance to dress up as Dale from Chip and Dale, and here I am in this huge costume, and I've got tons of people pulling on me, hugging me, and it was really exciting, and I got caught up in it and thinking this is the Disney magic, even though I'm wearing a huge carpet and sweating like crazy, but it was a lot of fun. Again, as I mentioned, this is driven by real estate. It's important to get butts in seats. The budgets are tighter many times for these projects. This is a permanent brick and mortar location that you're dealing with. And there are physical limitations to that, and also a question of durability. So for one of the theme park attractions that I produced, which was a carousel that's themed with all the Madagascar characters, our vendor, which was based in Kansas, assembled the carousel, and they spent 3 weeks beating it up with a baseball bat because they needed to make sure that it was going to be durable. This has to last for 10 to 15 years. And then they packed up the whole carousel, and they sent it to Singapore, and they assembled it, and they beat it up again to make sure that it would last, and it has lasted. So repeatability, scalability, and continued engagement are also things that are really important when planning a location-based entertainment project. Is this a special trip? Is it part of everyday life? Can this experience grow and evolve into other locations? How easy is it to move? And can we keep that audience engaged so that they want to come back and or stay engaged virtually? So when I think about all these spaces, we all want the same things. We all want to engage with amazing stories, with unique characters and unique worlds. So now I want to give you an example of one experience that has brought all of this together. And it's a show called Particle Inc. This is an immersive show that combines live performance, practical effects, VFX, animation, and technology. And it's produced by my client Kaleido, and they describe themselves as an entertainment technology company built to connect and inspire people around the globe. They are defining the future of story living. I like that. Story living, not storytelling. So here's what happened. In 2017, the CEOs of Kaleido saw a prototype of Particle Inc. at the Sundance Film Festival. And this was created by the Light Poets, which is a collective of artists, many of them from Cirque du Soleil. And when I asked one of the CEOs, like, what was it that captured your interest? And she said that there was a profound, deep IP at the heart. She thought that the artistry was incredible, and she thought that there was a real unique way that technology was applied to this storytelling. They had environmental design, projection mapping, and augmented reality. So Kaleido made a deal with the Light Poets, and they set about securing a building in New York. And that took around 6 to 8 months. I actually got to go visit that building in fall of 2019. The original open was supposed to be September of 2020, but that got delayed because of COVID. And Kaleido made a pivot. They decided that they were going to move the location to downtown Las Vegas because that was going to be more of a destination for people as in terms of vacation and entertainment. They also could get a lot of expensive rent there. The creatives are based there. The Light Poets are based out of there. And there was a bigger selection of talent that they could draw on to bring this experience to life. So they opened version 1 in spring of 2022. And their key learnings were they needed to be in a space that had more foot traffic because they were in downtown Las Vegas, which is off of the Strip. So they moved down, they actually made a deal with MGM and moved into the Luxor, and this allowed them to create a daytime experience to go along with their shows at 7 and 9:30. They also realized that they needed more story guidance for the audience. So the audience still has autonomy to walk around and experience as they want, but they needed to control the experience a little more. So version 2 opened this past spring, which was just so exciting, and I got to go, and I cried, and it was amazing. At the same time, the technology side of Kaleido launched their first NFT in October of 2023 with these same characters. It sold out in 90 minutes. They have a mini game launch and an NFT drop coming soon. So I love this quote from the Light Poets. This is from an online interview from No Proscenium. The exciting aspect of immersive theater is that it creates a space where an audience can actually be invited into that process too, to a degree. Suddenly, the audience isn't watching something that is inspired, but they are finding their own inspiration as they connect with others. All right, so this is Particle Ink.
Two hearts collide for the story and shadows need to something when the darkness got us burning. Like the summer feather, now we're headed for forever. Kiss the dark with light.
Sometimes things don't work out. I don't know if anyone has heard about Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. This was a 2-night hotel stay, an all-immersive adventure. And their catchphrase was, "Come live your very own epic Star Wars experience." So here's how this came to be. Also in 2017, same year as Particle Ink got launched, Disney surveyed their visitors to gauge interest. They'd be interested in coming to something like this. And there was a ton of interest. So plans were announced that year at D23. D23 is Disney's big conference that they hold every year to showcase their upcoming movies and their TV shows and their theme parks. So after a pandemic delay, they opened in March of 2022. But it closed in September of 2023. And like I mentioned, these things are supposed to be built to last for 10 to 15 years. So whoops. And it cost several $billion. Double whoops. What did it have going for it? Well, it had a huge IP. I mean, Star Wars is one of the biggest IPs in the world. It had grand ambition. It had fans of all ages. But where did it fail? It was too expensive. So my understanding is it costs over $6,000 for 2 people to spend 2 nights at this hotel. That's a lot of money. There wasn't enough to do, and the story didn't make sense. So because I'm likely running out of time, I can't talk much more about it, but you can watch Jenny Nicholson's 4-hour documentary on YouTube all about it, because she did a 4-hour review. So I think about that phrase that I mentioned at the beginning, broadcast yourself. Well, she sure did. So how are we going to continue to make engaging content for audiences to actively participate when we all use different toolkits? Well, I really do believe that we all carry our tools in our tool belts and we can play in different spaces. So let's bring those toolkits together. Animation superpower is storytelling, characters, world building, and game superpower is cutting-edge innovation and technology. And immersive location-based entertainment superpower is bringing everything together. And we can make a completely new kind of content experience all together. So as you're thinking about your careers and exploring, launching into the world of animation, I would urge you to think about and keep an open mind about games and location-based entertainment. So I have some resources for you. There's some conferences that are worldwide, and these are just a sampling. IAPA is the main one for location-based and immersive entertainment, and they have 3 conferences. I believe there's one in Europe, there's one in the US, in Orlando, and there's one in Asia. The Game Developers Conference is the biggest game conference in the US. It happens in March. And GamesCon just happened this past August in Cologne, Germany. I know that there are other games conferences. This is just a sampling. There's organizations that you can look into. So the Themed Entertainment Association, or the TEA, is the main organization for location-based entertainment. They hold different kinds of events. They're the ones that have an awards ceremony every year for all the different categories of location-based and immersive entertainment. There's the International Game Developers Association, which is based in Europe, and also the Independent Game Developers Association, which is in the UK and also Europe. You can check out some of these websites. So I like this newsletter. This Laura has Substack, which is called This Is Not an Experience. That's how I'm finding out about some of these interesting experiences. There's Games Industry Biz and Gama Sutra. Again, I know there's much more, just a sampling. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when I come back to it, we all want to engage with amazing stories, with unique characters in unique worlds. So let's do it together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jill. Any questions? ¿Alguna pregunta? What? Una aquí, atrás, vale.
Good morning. I have two silly questions really quick. The first one is, do you know where the How to Train Your Dragon theme park is?
How did you say one more time?
Do you know where the How to Train Your Dragon theme park is, by any chance?
I don't.
Oh.
Oh, the How to Train. Yes, that's going to be part of. Sorry, I didn't understand. Yes, that's going to be part of Epic Universal's. Their Epic Universal theme park that's opening next summer in Orlando.
All right. So the second silly question is, do you know about the experience of Omega Market? I have heard of it.
Yes, so that's one of the Meow Wolf exhibits, and I went to it, the Omega Market. Yeah, it's really interesting. I spent 2.5 hours in there, like checking it out. It's quite an interesting world. I had a little trouble following the story, but the world itself is quite magnificent, and there's lots to do, and it was a lot of fun. So that's one of their Meow Wolf experiences. Mm-hmm.
Vale. La siguiente pregunta allí, sí.
Okay, back to the animated series, like The Simpsons or really that you showed before. I see that. Well, I saw the first series, but the next one don't know because I don't know. But I want to know if I am a kid to watch that series.
To watch which series? Which one?
SpongeBob or The Simpsons.
SpongeBob. I mean, you can watch them on Netflix. They have episodes on YouTube. If you have Paramount Plus, which nobody has Paramount Plus, it's a platform, you can watch it there. They are still making SpongeBob, and they've done a lot of extension movies. So Netflix is making spin-off movies like a Sandy movie. They made a Plankton movie. They made a Patrick movie. So they are continuing to grow that brand in many different spaces. They did a stage show of it that was on Broadway, which was kind of crazy. Did I answer your question? Yeah.
¿Alguna pregunta más? Vale, por allí.
Have you ever worked on a Spanish business about a game or animation projects?
Have I had my own game projects?
No, if you have worked on a Spanish business for projects, animation, games.
I have not. I have not worked with anyone in Spain yet, but I hope that will change.
Thank you.
I tried when I was at Paramount. Sergio Pablos pitched me a project. This was a long time ago. He pitched me a project, and I tried to buy it. It took 18 months, and I wasn't able to buy it because business affairs. That's all I can say. That's the closest I came to working with a Spanish company directly, but I have a lot of relationships with Spanish companies. I know people at Skydance, and I just met Rodrigo Blas and Cecile Hoax yesterday in person. I had met them because one of my clients was Epic Games, and what I did for them is I produced in-game animated film festivals. So inside of Fortnite, we had an animated film festival. We produced 4 of those, and we licensed the film Alma to be part of one of those festivals. So that was really fun.
¿Tenemos alguna otra pregunta? Vale. Aquí, luego allá arriba.
Hi. when working on this, like immersive experiences that you say you help to produce, what factors do you take into consideration when working with it? Like, what do you think is the most important thing when you're planning one?
That's
so
a
it doesn't
really
flop?
It's a really good question. There was a fine balance between the practical and making sure that there was brand, that we maintained the brand integrity. So some backstory on those attractions. So Universal Studios Singapore was actually created by a company called Resorts World. They own hotels and casinos. They won a bid from the Singaporean government to build their casino on Sentosa Island. But the deal was they had to build a museum and shopping and a theme park. So Resorts World went to Universal and said, we want to license your IP and we'll build a theme park. And Universal said, okay, but you have to hire the people that we know and trust. So I was part of that team. So I had to balance between making sure that my client was happy, Resorts World, but also getting them to understand if we rush this and if we make Shrek teal, that ruins the integrity of the brand that you've just paid for. On the other hand, I had to work with DreamWorks and explain to them, DreamWorks, if we make Gloria, the hippo from Madagascar, the size of she would be if she were standing right here next to me as a carousel figure, an adult male will not be able to sit on her. She will be too big. So we will have to do some sculpting to make her slimmer, but still make her look like she does in the movie. So it's a balance between what is practical and what works for the IP. That's what I found to be kind of the biggest thing I had to handle there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tenemos dos preguntas allá arriba que tienes que...
There are a couple of questions up there, and they have to be the very last ones because we're running out of time.
If I'm correct, I saw at the beginning that you've worked for Digix Pictures. I don't know if...
Yes, I did. My company did some consulting for them because they have done service work for game companies for a long time, and they now want to create their own content. So they needed some help with strategy to get them ready for Annecy. So they were bringing their own projects there to shop. So that's what I did for them.
Okay, so did you work at any Assassin's Creed? Because at least I know them because they have made many trailers for the company. So I was wondering if you have made any of them.
I can't speak to their original content. I didn't work on any of their games, so I can't speak to that. I was just focused on their original content, which is in many ways very different from their game content that they work on. Their original content was more aimed at that kids and family audience.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
¿Hay alguna otra pregunta por allá arriba? ¿No? Una más, si queréis. ¿Nadie? Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure.